right, welcome back, everyone. This next session is getting started. So our learning points are the Auros IQ personas, the seed project process, and the assessment first methodology. So there are 6 Auros IQ personas that help categorize the different types of Auros IQ users and relate roles in the customer's organization or workflow to roles in Auros IQ. The first is the knowledge-aware lead. The knowledge-aware lead directs the overall implementation. The associated Auros role is an Auros administrator. Second persona is the process architect. The process architect manages a business process, and they are often a COP admin. Next, we have the subject matter expert. The SME manages a knowledge base, and they're typically KPAC authors, issue assignees, and assessment approvers. We have the project or team manager who coordinates execution of a business process. They're typically an assessment creator, sometimes an evaluator, and an issue creator. There's the individual contributor who completes work for a business process. The associated Auros role is the assessment evaluator or issues creator. And the stakeholder who has interest in business process outcomes, and they're typically a general user or an assessment approver. So next we're going to get into the different steps of the seed project process. We start out with a briefing. The objective of the briefing is to provide an overview of the knowledge-aware concept, to identify potential opportunities or benefits it could provide to a customer group, and to gain interest from stakeholders or end users. Next, we go into a seed project scoping session where we're trying to understand areas of opportunity or potential value. We scope the project itself, and the outcome is producing a project charter. Next, we have the seed project itself. Our objective is to establish a production-ready process that demonstrates tangible value. The Auros team learns about the customer process and applicable roles. The customer team learns about Auros and configuration best practices, and the teams work jointly to configure a workflow. Next, we get into production. Our objective is to establish a production footprint where the workflow is facilitated through the configuration in Auros and data is being collected in a normalized format, enabling closed-loop learning. Once we're in production, we work on adjacency development. The objective is to identify additional areas of opportunity to grow the knowledge-aware implementation. The seed project process is repeated with the steps you've seen before to realize additional value in different areas. Demand-driven growth is very similar to adjacency development. The difference is that it's the users or the stakeholders who are identifying these areas of opportunity and trying to grow the implementation. So again, the seed project process is repeated and additional value is realized. The result of demand-driven growth is enterprise capability. The objective is that the knowledge-aware approach becomes part of the organization. The last learning point is assessment first. Ashley touched on this as well as Josh earlier, and we've kind of flipped around the graphic here. Traditionally, we would capture knowledge, we'd figure out how to provision it into an assessment, and then we'd evaluate it. Well, through experience, we've learned that it's better to flip the process around. So rather than starting with capturing the knowledge, we start with identifying the assessment. Process first, knowledge second. We first define the process, and we understand how the knowledge will be applied, which enables us to more efficiently capture the knowledge. Understanding how the knowledge will be applied creates the demand for knowledge, turns a documentation process into a communication process, and ensures that authored knowledge is ready for reuse. Are there any questions?
So you mentioned the different roles people can take within the seed project. Do people often take on multiple roles? Is that a good thing, bad thing, or what do you advise for that?
We commonly see people in multiple roles. Typically, we try to bucket people into a primary role, and then there are a few roles that are more important at the start of a project, although people could fill different roles throughout.
Thank you.
I have a question too. So, Mikayla, I'm in business development and I deal with a lot of my customers. One of the things that's very common is for them to talk to me about, I'm interested in Auros, but I've got multiple processes. I'm interested in starting with the tool, or I have idea for several seed projects. Where should they start? How do they know where to start?
So there are three elements that we'd look at here typically. The first one is a well-defined process. So if you have a well-defined process, it's pretty easy to translate it into a process in Auros. So we look for well-defined processes because they enable us to get started more quickly. The second thing is a group or groups who are open to the idea of change. So maybe making tweaks or modifications to their process throughout the seed project. And the third is value. So we want to choose a project where the customer team will be able to realize value quickly or with the least amount of effort. So we'll work with the customer to talk through those three aspects of each project and determine the best place to start.
Okay, great. And thank you, Mikayla.
So I'm not trying to be hard, but you said, determine value. Can you give some examples of that value? What we would be looking at and what Auros is going to benefit us on?
So an example would be if you have a process with a lot of documentation, maybe ISO documentation that lives in folders, and people have to go out and look at all these different places they need to find the documentation to complete their process. They would get a lot of value from an efficiency perspective to have the knowledge provisioned to them rather than having to go out and look for that. So that'd be a time savings and efficiency improvement.
The question of value when before and after making it a knowledge-aware process shows up in the form of either quality or time savings or resource savings, costs, all of the above. And so you can look for value. We have undertaken early projects, say at Ford Motor, which were largely quality improvement projects where they saw and knew that here's a process where the quality has faltered, and that's where the measurement of quality is possible to do. And you're looking at the delta before and after having implemented the process for the quality improvement there. And we were actually, in the early stages, applying the aggregation of knowledge packets with costs associated with the knowledge packets. So the successful application of a knowledge packet actually came with an associated cost improvement. I'm just giving you one additional example to the ones you already have.
Quality is a great example of an additional area that you could see value in.
Thanks, Sanjay. And for those of you who don't know in the room, this is Sanjay. He's one of the owners of Auros Knowledge Systems, so he speaks of great knowledge and everything. All your questions can be funneled through him as well. Anything else, Mikayla?
Nope.
Any other questions on getting started? I know this one was kind of quick as well. I know it was a small, intimate group. I really appreciate you guys' questions. I'm sure maybe you have more. We're happy to stay and talk to you more conversationally, if that makes sense. If not, we can get upstairs and maybe join the tail end of whatever is going on up there now. I know at 4 o'clock, where there's going to be a talk on knowledge-aware certification up there, so we definitely encourage you to get up for that one. But we're done with this breakout room. Unless any of you want to talk to us individually, we're happy to talk to you. Thank you so much for attending today. We appreciate it.